Think about the last time you ate something sweet. You did not think about it. You just reached for it. The craving was already there before you even decided anything. Now here is what nobody tells you about that moment. That exact craving, the one that just made you reach for something sweet without thinking, is not yours. It belonged to an ancient human standing in a forest millions of years ago who had never tasted anything sweet in their life, until one day they did. And what happened inside their body in that single moment was so powerful that your brain is still chasing it today without you even knowing why. For most of human history, sweet did not exist as a taste ancient humans experienced regularly. The world around them was bitter, sour, and bland. Roots pulled from the ground, tough meat from a hunt, leaves and bark when nothing else was available. Nothing that tasted the way sugar tastes. But deep inside their bodies, ancient humans already had something waiting. A set of taste receptors specifically designed to detect one thing: natural sugar in ripe fruit. These receptors did not appear in humans first. They go back tens of millions of years to the earliest primates. Small tree-dwelling animals living in dense forests who faced a constant daily problem. Which fruit is ready to eat and which one will make you sick? Unripe fruit is hard, bitter, and difficult to digest. Ripe fruit is soft, sweet, and packed with energy that the body can use almost instantly. An animal that could detect the difference between the two had a massive survival advantage over one that could not. So the brain learned to reward the detection of sweetness with a rush of pleasure so strong that the animal would seek it out again immediately. That reward system never went away. It is still running inside you right now. And it was built for a world where sweet fruit appeared for only a few weeks a year and had to be found before every other animal in the forest found it first. Ancient humans were not addicted to sugar. They were built to chase it. And that chase started long before they ever found anything sweeter than a piece of wild fruit. The first time ancient humans encountered something significantly sweeter than fruit, it did not come from a plant. It came from an insect, honey. Wild honey is not easy to find and it is not safe to take. A wild beehive contains thousands of bees willing to defend it aggressively. Getting to the honey means getting stung, multiple times, painfully, and wild hives are often built in high places, inside rock crevices, in hollow trees 30 feet off the ground. Getting to them means climbing toward something that is actively trying to drive you away. The first ancient human who discovered honey did not plant it. They almost certainly found a hive that had been abandoned or damaged. Maybe a bear had broken it open. Maybe it had fallen from a tree. And they tasted what was inside. Nothing in their entire life had ever tasted like that. Not fruit, not anything. Honey is more concentrated in natural sugar than almost any other substance that exists in nature. The brain's response to tasting it for the first time would have been immediate and overwhelming, and ancient humans remembered it, not just individually, collectively. The knowledge of what honey was, where to find it, and how to get it spread through groups and was passed forward across generations. Researchers found a painting on a cave wall in Spain showing a human figure climbing what looks like a rope toward a rock crevice surrounded by bees. The painting is estimated to be between 6,000 and 10,000 years old. Someone climbed toward a beehive, got stung repeatedly, and considered it completely worth it because they knew exactly what was waiting inside. That is how powerful the discovery of honey was. Ancient humans were willing to climb dangerous heights and accept hundreds of stings to get it, not because they were reckless, because nothing else they had ever tasted came close. But honey was seasonal, scarce, hard to reach, and ancient humans wanted more. So they started paying closer attention to the plants around them. About 8,000 years ago in the highlands of New Guinea, ancient humans noticed something about a tall wild grass growing in the wet tropical soil around them. When you cut the stem and chew it, liquid came out that tasted unlike anything else available. This was wild sugarcane. At first, ancient humans in New Guinea were not farming it or processing it in any way. They were simply cutting the stalks, chewing them, sucking out the sweet juice, and spitting out the fiber. Simple, direct, requiring no tools and no knowledge beyond knowing which plant to pick. But they picked it again the next day, and the day after that. And slowly, over many generations, they began doing something that changed the entire story. Instead of just finding wild sugarcane wherever it grew, they started planting it deliberately near their camps. This was not a dramatic moment. Nobody announced that they were inventing agriculture for sugar. It happened gradually as people noticed that planting the stalks produced more plants in a location they could easily reach. Convenience drove the discovery forward step by step. Researchers tracing the genetic history of modern sugarcane varieties confirmed New Guinea as the origin point. Every sugarcane plant growing anywhere on Earth today traces back to that original wild grass in those highlands 8,000 years ago. But what ancient New Guineans had was still just a plant you chewed raw. The thing that would eventually reshape the entire world had not been invented yet. And when it was, it happened somewhere else entirely, through an accident that nobody saw coming. At some point in ancient India, someone did something to sugarcane juice that nobody had done before. They boiled it. Boiling sugarcane juice concentrates it. The water evaporates, and what remains becomes thicker and sweeter. If you keep going and then let it cool, something remarkable happens. The liquid hardens into crystals, solid, dry, storable, transportable, something completely different from the plant it came from. This was the moment sugar stopped being a local food and became something the entire world would eventually want. Before this discovery, sugarcane juice spoiled quickly. You could not carry it far. You could not trade it. You could not store it for winter. But crystallized sugar could travel across oceans without spoiling. It could be kept for months. It could be traded across enormous distances for things of real value. Ancient Indians called this new substance shakara, meaning grit or gravel in Sanskrit. That word eventually became the word sugar in almost every language that adopted it. From India, the knowledge spread outward along trade routes, to China, to Persia, to the Arab world, to the Mediterranean, and eventually to Europe, where it arrived as something so rare and expensive that only the wealthiest people could afford it. For centuries in medieval Europe, sugar was kept in locked boxes, used in tiny quantities as a medicine or a spice, priced higher than most people earned in a week. The substance that ancient humans in New Guinea had chewed casually from a raw plant had become one of the most valuable commodities in the ancient world. And the craving that had been built into the human brain millions of years earlier made sure that demand for it never dropped. Here is what makes the discovery of sugar one of the most important moments in human history. Not just because of trade or economics, but because of what it did to the human body. Ancient humans were built for scarcity. Their entire relationship with sweet food was built around finding it rarely, consuming it quickly, and then going long periods without it. The brain's reward system for sweetness was calibrated for a world where sweet food appeared a few times a year at most. When ancient humans first started farming sugarcane and producing concentrated sugar, that calibration began breaking down. Researchers studying ancient teeth from communities that gained access to sugar earlier than neighboring populations found the evidence immediately. Cavities appeared in populations that had almost none before. The bacteria that cause tooth decay feed on sugar. Give them a consistent supply and they multiply rapidly, but this was still a slow change over thousands of years. The real rupture came much later when sugar stopped being rare and became industrial. Within the last 200 years, the price of sugar collapsed. What had once been reserved for royalty became available to everyone. Consumption exploded. And the human body, still calibrated for a world where sweetness meant a lucky find a few times a year, was suddenly receiving more sugar in a single day than an ancient human would have encountered in months. The craving that had kept ancient humans alive by driving them toward rare energy-dense food now had an unlimited supply to chase, and it had no off switch built in. Because in the world it was designed for, an off switch was never needed. You could not overeat fruit that only existed for 3 weeks a year. So here is the full picture of how ancient humans discovered sugar. It started with a taste receptor built into the earliest primates tens of millions of years ago to detect ripe fruit. It continued with the discovery of honey and the willingness to climb dangerous heights and accept hundreds of stings to get it. It progressed to wild sugarcane in New Guinea and the gradual understanding that planting it produced more of what they wanted. And it transformed into something that reshaped economies and empires when someone in ancient India figured out how to turn liquid into crystals. Every step of that discovery was driven by the same thing, a craving so deep and so old that it predates the human species entirely. The next time you reach for something sweet without really deciding to, remember that you are not making a choice. You are running a program written into your biology tens of millions of years before you were born. Ancient humans climbed cliffs and faced thousands of bees for what you can now buy for almost nothing. The craving is ancient. The ease is brand new. And your brain has no idea how to tell the difference. If this changed how you think about something you do every single day without thinking, subscribe. And drop a comment telling me what you reached for the last time a craving hit you before you even realized it. Because honestly, we all know the answer to that one.